let's start with something simple. What's your preferred way to get baked every day?
Lately it's been with my bamboo joint holders. Here's one here.
Oh my
And
gosh,
yeah,
that's really cool.
well, I love bamboo. I've always have ever since I got near it, you know. And for a dope smoker, bamboo is like the perfect plant for it, because everything about bamboo seems to cry pipe. you know the hollow stems, like this is a pipe I carved. And it was a pipe, but now it's a joint holder. Put the joint in there, but this grows on the bamboo like this here. It's a branch, and all I have to do is cut it off there, trim it there, drill out the in between things, and you got a perfect hand carved pipe, which I'm going to be selling eventually.
I'll have to make sure I get one. Those are really cool.
Oh yeah. Well, with you, you can have one free.
I appreciate that. How much do you smoke usually a day?
Not much more than a joint.
Really?
I got a lot of ends, just little roaches and that, like this little guy, I do cameos, and a lot of the cameos, they request me to smoke on the cameo, and I do, but I take a couple of tokes and then I put it out. Because I've got so much weed in my house, and I'm having so much fun with it. I always did love cleaning it back in the day, clean it with the seeds and everything, and now I grind it. It's a grind job, and so it's a good workout too, a physical workout, good for the hands.
Oh, I'm sure, especially when you're doing it all day.
Yeah. Well, not totally all day, but when I'm sitting down, if I got nothing much to do, I'll either turn on Amazon on my TV and listen to Miles Davis, and just trip around, just trip. Isn't it funny? I'm listening to Miles Davis, which he recorded 1953, and now it's what, 2021. I'm now starting to understand what he was playing, to the point where I can do that. I know that, I know how to do that. It's
any instruments?
Yeah, I play guitar.
Okay. Because weren't you in a band long ago?
Yep. I sure was. In the 60s. I started in the 50s. I started playing rock and roll in the 50s. Same time Elvis did. In fact, I backed up an Elvis impersonator right after he hit the national stage. This full-blooded Sarsi Indian guitar player, Army cadet named Dick Bird, and we teamed up. I was his backup guitar player, and we played high school lunch hours at the high school. And we had the girls screaming, or Dick had the girls screaming. I was back in the back playing rhythm guitar.
That sounds like a really cool time. Like, we never had anything like that in my high school.
Oh God, it was so much fun. And it wasn't my high school. I was on the hill. I was across town. But we found out that, you're not a prophet in your own country, And so when I would go over to the other high school, well, the girls didn't know who I was, because when you go to high school, you know the pedigree of everybody in there, who the dork is and who the football player is, all that, But I started playing, in the 50s, 40s, actually. Let's see, 30. Yeah, I guess in the 40s. I was born in 38. So yeah, 38. Yeah. By the time it was the 50s, I could play guitar, country guitar, backup.
I gotcha. I only ever really played a violin, to be honest, though.
You did?
Yeah.
Oh, were you good? Did you progress?
Yeah, I'm all right. I still play. I ended up joining a band locally.
Oh, great. wanted to play fiddle, and my parents bought me a fiddle actually, but I was too much into the guitar, being able to play. Because, you know, back in my day, it wasn't that you played for your own enjoyment. I had to play for dances, you know, for parties. I started right out of the gate. I started playing like a couple hours a night, you know, for hoedowns and dances. And the fiddle was a lot of fun, but it was too small.
Yeah, I feel you there. I am a smaller person, so it checks out.
Yeah. Oh yeah. What did I watch on TV yesterday? Some symphony orchestra where the guy just tore up. I don't know what it was. I watch, you know, the what do you call that channel? The public channel, you know, and they had this incredible violinist, and not only incredible, but he had all the moves. He had all the punk rock star, you know, all the dips and dives, and when he'd hit a note, and then he was very, very. It was incredible. Yeah.
That sounds like a real experience.
Mm-hmm.
My followers are actually wondering like about the state of your mind, your body, more specifically your lungs, now that you're reaching your mid 80s.
Well, my lungs are fine. You know, I was excessive in anything. But but I'll tell you what's keeping me in good shape is that I was a bodybuilder, serious, from age 15, 16. Yeah, about 16. That's when I discovered the YMCA, and I discovered the weight room. And then I started reading bodybuilding magazines. Anyway, I was fairly in really good shape, and I never lost it, you know, that too much. And then I found out my heroes, Arnold Schwarzenegger and all my bodybuilding heroes, they all smoked pot, but they wouldn't do anything else. A couple of them did alcohol, but the alcohol did them in. No, I found out that exercise, you know, you got to exercise. And if you're aware, everything you do during the day can turn into an exercise, you know. Walking, like I'm learning how to do the tango walk because I want to learn how to dance tango better. I know how to dance, but I don't know how to dance good. And the pros, what they do, they spend years developing the tango walk, which is basically just a slow, balanced walk with the key being balance. And so I do that. I take out the garbage. I pretend the garbage can's like my dance partner, and I do a little tango walk with the garbage can. And when I was in prison, that one time I went to prison, I was taking tango then, and I used to practice my tango walk on the basketball court. And of course, it attracted an audience. I'm a comedian, so I'm used to audiences. And of course, I had a heckler, and there was a big old biker. This biker gang used to have, like, part of a couple of Hell's Angels and the Mongols. And all those guys were there, but they were the peaceful ones because it was a camp. But there's one, I guess he was like just an independent biker. He started heckling me and said, "Hey, Chong, you don't have to dance alone. Come on, I'll dance with you." So I didn't miss a beat. I walked right over to him, took him in my arms, and and he got all homophobic. Oh, and he became my best friend in the joint. He's my dog. In fact,
do you still stay in contact with him at all?
Not anymore. No. He was what do you call it? Repeat offender,
Oh,
and so he would get dirty on heroin, and then he'd go to clean up in the joint. Then you get out, get dirty, and go back and forth. I tried to, you know, I spent the whole, practically my whole sentence talking him into, you know, going straight and becoming an actor, you know. because he had that face, he had everything, you know. He's a big bodybuilder. He wasn't that tall, but he was wide, you know. He's 400-pound bench presser. That's
wow.
how high he was. Steve Larson. But he was my Cheech when I was in prison, because I'd play tricks with him. I'd have so much fun with him, you know. Because I told him, I said, teach me how to do time. And he's, oh, yeah, no problem. And so first thing you do, you play games. You got to play games, you know. So we played a game of pool, you know. And he had no idea, you know, that I grew up in Canada where the pool tables are larger, and the pockets are smaller and the balls are smaller. And so you get really accurate. And so when we came down to the States, you know, the chicken shit little 9-ball here in the States is like kids play, you know. And so I beat him the first game. And so Steve, he got all serious because he was like one of the champion pool players in prison. And so he said, well, rack him up. Let's go again. I said, nope. Because we made a bet. And the bet was push-ups on demand. Whoever lost the other guy, the loser, had to do push-ups on demand, and it was as many as 20. And you didn't have to do them all at once. You could do one at a time, two at a time, whatever. But on demand, whenever I said, and so when I won the one game, I won the push-ups on demand, and he wanted to have a rematch, you know, because he was just getting warmed up. And I'm quite sure he could have beat me. But I said, nope. And I never played him the whole time I was in prison. And then he's telling everybody in the yard, you know, on the track that night, all the bikers, you know, oh, John, man, he played me one game, then he chickened out. He won't play me again. I said, Steve, give me 2. And he had to stop. And he looked at me. Then he remembered, oh, okay. And he went down, he said, let me do them all. I said, nope, just 2. Just give me 2 push-ups. All the bikers are laughing. And that was the beginning of my time in prison. And it just went like that almost every day. Just one. It was like Cheech and Chong in jail, because, you know, he had done so much time, you know. I mean, he just knew his way around there, you know, knew what you could do, what you could get away with, you know, the whole thing. And basically you get away with anything as long as you didn't cause any problems for the guards. You know, we took care of ourselves there. You know? It was a pleasant experience, to tell you the truth.
I'm glad you found a way to enjoy it.
Oh yeah. Well, that's my whole life, man. You know, I've been doing a lot of podcasts, and I try to, you know, tell people, you know, that I, you know, I started out very, very, very poor. You don't know it when you're a kid, you know. It's just your life. That's just the way you live. But I had a lot of obstacles, you know, really young, and I call them blessings, actually, because they made us strong, made my brother really strong. He was 3 years older than me. But when we grew up, you know, it was like we were off the grid, as they say. You know, no electricity, no plumbing, no running water. And so they were called chores. And so we had to bring in the wood, bring in the water, and take out the slop pail, and do all that every day. And I was, at the time, I was about 5, 6, 7 years old, and my brother was 2 years older than me. So he was like the little guy. He was the man of the house, because my dad was a truck driver in a way most of the time. And so he got really tough, really strong. You talk about weightlifting, man. You know, you chop wood and carry water every day. You get muscles, you know, especially at that young. And so when we encountered racism, which we did, you know, because we were color, my brother, actually, his joy in life was fighting. he was like the first MMA fighter, you know, or the alley fighters, you know, those guys. He was one of those guys, the tough guys. You'd see each other at school or something, and then they'd say, meet you in the alley, you know, and they'd go fight by themselves. That's the way my brother was, you know. That was his sport. But yeah, I had a really good good upbringing, you know, a good solid base, you know, and that's helped me for the rest of my career. Because after that, you grow up like that. After that, you know, what hardships of missing a bus, you know, or having to walk home on cement, you know, try walking home on a muddy road or a snowy road or a snowy field, you know. So yeah, my upbringing really helped. And country boys, you know, historically, when they went into the city, no one messed with them. You know, because the city boys, you know, they never had that kind of physical upbringing that the country boys did, you know. Because those country boys, man, they would have to be up at 4 a.m. and they'd get a day's work in before they went to school. You know?
Right.
Yeah, so you're not messing with those guys, you know. And they were never looking for trouble. They were quiet, you know, unassuming. But if you messed with them, oh my God, you paid the price. You know?
Any of your kids have any similar issues like that growing up?
Oh, my kids?
Yeah.
Not one. Not one. they grew up with that silver spoon, you know. Yeah, no, they were. I mean, they had housekeepers from the time they were born. My second oldest boy, my housekeeper used to brush his teeth for him.
Oh, wow.
He'd be so tired and she'd brush his teeth, stand help him brush his teeth and bathe him. Oh my God. No, they're different. But you know, I mean, that's the whole thing about life, you know, it's everybody has their own personal karma to deal with. And no, not my kids. No, but you know, they found a way. They heard the stories. You know, I told them the stories, and my oldest boy, my manager, Paris, he found a way to, you know, to experience a lot of what I went through on his own. You know, because I told my kids a long time ago, especially Paris, you know, I don't care what you do, just don't tell me about it. You know, because that's what life is all about, is experiences, you know. So the sooner they get experience, you know, the safer it is for them in the real world, you know. Because there's so many stories about, especially rich kids, that, you know, they have drug problems, they have all sorts of problems, you know. Robin Williams was a prime example, you know. He got a substance abuse problem, you know, because he grew up very wealthy and he never had any reason really not to do what he was doing. He had every reason to do what he was doing. No one was telling him. He had the money, the resources, the time, you know, and so you go down that route. Like Belushi, I knew Belushi when. Right from the beginning, you know, before he was even on Saturday Night Live, he was a big fan of Cheech and Chong, because Belushi was he was a alumni of not Second City, Second City, I guess Second City in Chicago, and but when he heard Cheech and Chong records, you know, Belushi became a instant fan, you know, so he'd be in Second City, and they tried to do a record like we did. And every time Belushi would do something, the producer would say, "That sounds too much like Cheech and Chong." So, yeah. No, I forget the question. Was there a question?
I was just asking about your family and, you know, their upbringing compared to yours.
Oh, the family. Yeah.
Just wondering
No,
about the
they,
diversity.
no, I, you know what I did? I always managed to put my family in the show somehow, you know, because it's an old Chinese habit, you know, when the dad works, the family works. And I've had my wife do stand-up, you know, been my partner in stand-up, and my son, he plays bass, and my other son, a younger boy, he's a drummer. In fact, he's got a degree from Boulder in percussion. So he's legitimate. All my daughters are like Radon Chong. She's from a previous marriage. She you know, she's famous in her own right. You know, she's got a big list of movies that she's done, you know, from Quest for Fire to Commando, Beat Street, all sorts of good movies. She's in LA. I see her all the time. Robbie, she was on a few, she Poltergeist. She was on a TV show called Poltergeist. She's an actress, a model. Precious, she lives in Ontario, in Toronto, where she's directed a couple of movies now, written a couple, and starred in a few. And she was an actress too here in LA. And then my boys, so, and then I got a grandson, Ray Don's son, Morgan, and they got a couple of kids, and so I'm a great granddaddy.
Oh wow!
So I got a great tribe. I got a really good tribe, and now it's kind of sad now in a way that Cheech and I are just finishing up a documentary, and it really is the end of Cheech and Chong, as far as performing goes. That's kind of sad, but time goes on.
Well,
Everybody has to quit sooner or later.
Well, I was gonna ask this question later, but now might be a good time. I was gonna say, I don't know if you saw the new Bill and Ted movie with Keanu and Alex, but
No.
they basically set it up so that in the movie they had kids that could kind of carry on the torch for them. Do you ever see that happening with Cheech and Chong? Are you guys somehow bringing it back with younger people just to carry on the aesthetic, the style, the culture?
There's been talk about it, but I'm not really, Cheech and Chong, we weren't actors playing a part. We were more us real people playing real parts, at least in my case. Now, Cheech really, he made that iconic character, but he won't own it. In fact, he will disown it, because it's really sort of like a caricature of the Chicano. But my stoner character, I played it practically in everything I've been in, and because that's really, it's not really who I am, but that's my sensibilities.
Mm-hmm.
Like if I'm going to entertain anybody with comedy, when I get into that stoner guy, because he's got license to say anything and do anything and be anything, because he's so blatantly honest with everything. I love that guy. And I know that's, but my real persona now, is more softer and more poetic. In fact, I'm going to create a show where I do poetry, readings, and I'm going to write a book. I've been writing constantly all my life, really, because I'm the writer. I wrote the songs, or the lyrics anyway, and a couple of songs I wrote the both lyrics and the music. And so, we're doing a documentary, and at the end of I came up with a bit for the documentary, and I'm old school. I thought for sure, anything with Cheech and Chong in it, everybody would welcome a bit from me, because I created the whole thing. It was me that created, put it all together. But the guy that's doing the documentary and my daughter, they had other ideas. They want to stick with their plan, which is the first time I've ever done any character, any project where you stuck to the plan.
Mm-hmm.
But they are, and I am too. And then I kind of was hoping that Cheech would want to be Cheech again, but no. So as we approach the end of the documentary, I realized that my ideas are, just not being accepted, and I have to accept that, And so actually, it's a gift. They gave me back myself, and so I'm no more indebted to a image, a character, or anything, And so I can start fresh again, because, I never really wanted to be a comedian. I never had any plans of being a comedian. It's just that I found out that I could do comedy, And I never really wanted to be a musician either. That was never my dream in my life. It was just something that I could, and like a farm boy, you carry the water, you carry the wood. Oh, play guitar. Yeah, okay. You know what I mean? And that's the way I've been. But one thing that I have that I realize that I am is a poet. I've been in love with poetry ever since as soon as I learned how to read. It was the poems and the poetry that affected me. And as a habit, I write all the time, and I just write down words, or I collect words, and so I realized, now this is the perfect gift that anybody could give anybody, is their freedom. See, now I don't have to worry about, being funny or being crazy or being any of that stuff. Now all I have to worry about is just being me and entertaining. Yeah, of course, there'll be humor. I can't help but put humor in it. But I'm going to go on the road, and especially when we get our own dispensaries, because that's what we're working on, Cheech and Chong dispensaries, and instead of like just appearing there, I'm going to be doing poetry readings, and yeah, I love it. I love the idea.
Do you have a poem with you that you could read for us?
They're on my phone, so I really can't.
Okay.
Can't get them now and do this here. I mean, I don't have any memorized. See, do I? Not really, because it's like music, Even though you can play the tune, you still need that music in front of you.
Yeah, I understand that.
To hit those special notes and to hit that special thing, because you got to train yourself. I've played by ear all my life, and that's why to this day I can't read and play at the same time. I can if it's just chord changes, but not single notes right there, unless I rehearse. And then if I rehearse, of course, I can do anything. If you can memorize it, because that was my thing. But the poems, they're like, well, like I wrote this poem, "Get It Legal." They're busting folks in New York City, but not the evil bastards that they should. They're busting the dope smoking hippies along with the brothers and the others in the hood. We got to get it legal. We got to get it legal now. We got to get it legal, and I don't care how. That was the verse of our Get It Legal song when we were touring in the Get It Legal tour. But now it's illegal. And so it's a perfect time for Cheech and Chong to go and do what they haven't done before.
Yeah, it really is. Hopefully it gets federally legal soon. My state.
Oh yeah, that's it. That's the next step. But don't hold your breath waiting for that to happen. It'll happen, But the way this world works is that it's not linear. It's not this and that happens. No, what happens? It's sort of like it's a couple of steps forward, then a couple of steps back, then a couple more steps forward, some back, and then a big jump forward, then a big jump back.
Oh yeah.
And so the thing is, once they recognized it medically, that's all I care about. That's all I care about. Because legalizing it federally, yeah, it'll help the pot shops in our shops be able to conduct business with credit cards, and banking, have a banking. But right now it's a cash business, and there's too much cash around, to have it. It has to change, and there's no reason why it won't, except timing. There's a timing involved here, and that's what I tell people, when they say, "Do you think?" Because you know what? At first you're saying, "Oh, medical marijuana." Oh, In fact, Cheech was the one. He said, "Yeah. Oh, I got an idea. Why don't we have medical beer? Why don't we have medical beer?" That was his answer to medical marijuana. And then here comes medical marijuana for real. Yeah, Cheech used to In fact, he wrote a book about where he kind of like disagreed with me on everything. You know, when I got busted, it was like, you know, what's with this bong business? You know, do you make that much money that you have, you know, that you got to selling bongs? and now we got Cheech and Chong bongs that are giving him a nice check every quarter.
Funny how things change.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Well, it's healthy. I mean, we got sleep aids. I'm selling CBD sleep aids that I use right here. A couple of drops. It's Cheech and Chong's or Tommy Chong's Nice Dreams, and we're going to have pot shops all over the country selling Nice Dreams sleep aids. And then wake up in the morning, you want to get a thing, good vibes. Cheech and Chong's Good Vibes, and this is being sold there. It's CBD being sold everywhere.
Get some in Minnesota.
They got some weird. They got weird laws about everything, you know. But time, and that's where death comes in handy, because a lot of these old guys, they just need to go back and regroup, you know. Go back and get a new karma. Well, some of them are jumping on it. You know, there's a lot of cops and like Bonner, you know, the House Speaker, he's into the marijuana business, you know. Quite a few ex-DEA agents, you know, they're into it, you know. But the truth is, man, you know, pot is always been a medicine since the beginning, and will always be a medicine, you know. But so is heroin. That was started out as a medicine. And yeah.
Well, my followers were wanting to know what you think the key to happiness is.
Forgiveness. That's the key. Including yourself. You know, a lot of people are unhappy because they don't like what they're doing, you know, or they didn't like what they did, or all that stuff. It's forgiveness. Forgiveness really is the key. Because sometimes you think it's impossible. But you know, forgiveness, you know what, how, you know, the almost a twin of forgiveness. You know what the twin of forgiveness is? Non-judgmental. See, because a lot of times you get in trouble when you judge. Oh, this sucks, or he sucks, or this is, or she, you know what I mean? You judge. And the thing is, if you don't judge, like I read a thing where it says, expect nothing and you'll never be disappointed. That's the wisest thing I've ever heard. That way, no matter, like I got a birthday coming. You know what I'm expecting? Nothing. Nothing. And whatever I get, I'll be happy, whatever it is, because I really expect nothing. And yeah, forgiveness and being non-judgmental and all everything, forgiveness and non-judgmental, that relates to yourself. Because more times than enough, it's the people that have a problem with what they're doing themselves, what they've done. You know, they live in the past, or they're wishing for a better future. That, you know, I've never done that. Because I was in the hospital when I was quite young. You know, I don't remember my mother. I just remember the nurses. That's how young I was. I was with my mother when I was a baby and when I was a toddler, but I don't remember. My first memory is with nurses in the hospital. And so I've always been incarcerated, you know? I've always been institutionalized. And a lot of people call that institutionalized as being like a bad thing to be. You know, oh, he's been in jail too long. And no, it's a good thing. Because what happens when you're institutionalized, there are rules that you must follow. And you do that automatically. There's no problem unless there is something mentally wrong with you, you know, when you can't. But so when I went to jail, I realized I was incarcerated when I was in the hospital. I was incarcerated when I was in the home. And then when I went to Army Cadets, I was incarcerated there. And before I went to Army Cadets, I went to Bible camp and I was incarcerated there. So that's four trips of me being incarcerated. And when I mean incarcerated is when I say having people tell you what the rules are and this is what you do. And you do it. You know, there's no parent or guardian or anybody to say, oh, it's okay, you can do whatever you want. No, these are rules and you follow them. And yeah, and that way, I just thought about this recently, by the way, but I realized I've been incarcerated all my life. And so going to jail was no big deal. It was like, oh yeah, it felt like home. There's no problem. Because when you're incarcerated, you're only with the only person you have is yourself. That's it. That's it. They lock the door and they walk away and you're alone, you know, alone with your thoughts, alone with that's it. And so that was the idea of a penitentiary, is where people went to pay penance, you know, that's where the name came from. And so the I guess it was the Quakers or something, they decided that when people were committed crimes or something, you know, in the old days, like in China, you know, if you committed a crime, you were held in custody until the magistrate got there to sentence you to death or go in the work gang. You know, they never warehoused anybody, you know, and if you committed something horrendous, they'd just kill you. And if you were an able-bodied, they'd make you a slave for the rest of your life, practically, you know. And so it's, you know, the modern day age of being incarcerated. And when you think about it, that's what monks and religious people do, or, you know, spiritual people do. They walk by themselves. Meditation is a form of incarceration, you know. So it's just a way of being alone with yourself and your thoughts. And then, so if you got the education or the you know, the thoughts, if your thoughts are right, then you can conquer anything. You can go anywhere. You can do anything, you know. Like a lot of people, they talk about solitary, you know, and a lot of people, it just drove them crazy. They could not stand being alone, but just, and especially in the dark. I can imagine how horrible that would be for a lot of people. But then a guy like Nelson Mandela, you know, who was a brilliant lawyer, when he got incarcerated, he not only broke the rocks every day, but he taught law. He taught, and got out of 17 years, and under that penal system, he became the Prime Minister of South Africa, a Black man. So it depends on who's being incarcerated, and that's what I learned to do. You know, I learned how to live with myself.
That's some sage advice.
Mm-hmm.
Hopefully everyone can actually learn from that. I have a lot of friends that could benefit from that.
Well, again, you know, we're all in the process of learning, you know. Oh, yeah. And I'm at the age now where I'm 80. I'll be 83 in a couple of days, and I do have the right of a sage. No, I've been quiet long enough, and now when I'm asked, I will give you what I've learned, you know, and because that's another thing, you know, ask and ye shall receive. And that's what I like about these Zoom calls and that, you know, because guys like you ask me questions and I get, it's not me answering it, by the way, you know, it's the spirit. It's the,
you literally took the word out of my mouth when you said that.
Yeah. That's what it is. And that's what being alone or being incarcerated, or, you know, that's who you're alone with. You're with the spirit, and the spirit was always been there for you, you know, and will always be there for you. I did a little thing at USC film school, and it was they wanted to know questions about Up in Smoke, and so I answered the questions, and they said, so thank you for your talk and that, and do you have anything else that you would like to tell the class? And I said, yeah, I guess I do. And then, well, what? Go ahead. So I told the class, I said, we all have a God app in ourselves. It's in our brain. It's in our mind. And like the computer, when you need to go to anything, you hit the right app and you got it, you know. And with this God app, all you have to do is think of God. That's all you got to do. Because you can't have two thoughts in your head at the same time. And so if your thought is of God, then the power of God becomes in you. And so whatever you are concerned with, now you've got the Almighty helping you solve whatever problem that you face, whatever it is. And the teacher said, well, I wasn't expecting that, but thank you very much. And so I went outside to get my ride, and I got a couple of students, they came running after me. They wanted to hear more. They, you know, yeah, you know, God, that was quite amazing. Because think about it, God is the most used word in any language, any language. And I was thinking about the Israeli Palestinian conflict right now, which is so silly because both religions believe that there is only one God. Therefore, they are both religions are worshiping the same God. But and when they realize that, you know, which they will eventually, they will come to terms, you know. And someone has to remind them. And by the way, I figured out how movies could help the situation in the world. In fact, my next move really is creating a movie studio where I'm in charge. Like the old days, you know, the old movie studios, they had a mogul, you know, Warner Brothers, you know, or MGM, all those guys, they have one guy, Harry Cohn or whatever it was, one guy called the shots. But think about it, back in the day, man, those movies had moral codes to them, you know. You had, you know, the bad guy couldn't walk away with everything, you know, they had these moral codes, and it really determined how the civilization behaved, you know, because people not only copied the actors of the day or the actresses of the day, wore what they wore, talked the way they talked, smoked cigarettes the way they did, you know, because all of them promoted cigarettes in the time. And so I realized that a movie company has enormous power and enormous reach, and we could solve our homeless problem. That's what I plan to do with my movie company, and I'm going to call it Nice Dreams Studios. And what I want to do is, like for the homeless problem, for instance, what I want to do is create a movie, you know, write a movie about the homeless, and then go into areas where their homeless are, and then hire all the homeless people as for the movie company, according to whatever skills they have or don't have. If you don't have a skill, then you're an extra, you know, you're just a body. If all you can do is lay there, fine. you're hired, you're an extra. If you're an electrician, you got a job, electrician, so on and so on. And when you hire movie people, now you have to, help them with their living quarters. And so you have to find decent living quarters for your people. And you have to provide them food, and they have to join the unions. So they get health coverage, they get everything, they get all the health coverage, everything else. And the movie won't be just here and there and gone, it'll take at least 10 years we'll do docu-series. Say we'll do a document series. But again, that's open for the writers and the directors, which will also be hired at the same time. And so we'll go into an area and we'll designate it as, we'll rent it from the city, or the city will give it to us. And everybody in that area has to abide by the movie companies, but the movie companies. So we got to clear the streets of the tents and all that stuff. We'll have suitable housing for the people. Now, if the movie's about homeless and they have the tents, well, the tents are temporary. They'll be there for the shoots, and then we'll take them back into the prop department. And the people will not be living on the street. They'll be living in their proper quarters, and we'll go from district to district to do this with. And then in the end, you got a product that makes money, that will pay back the budget. But even if it doesn't, what you've accomplished with clearing the streets and giving people employment, that in itself is enough. But the upside is that if you get a hot movie and it makes a lot of money, then whoever owns the movie company, me and my investors, we're in profit. Now we do that all over the place, especially in LA, where we'll start in LA. But we can also do that, say, when we're pulling out of Afghanistan, and we got interpreters there that are going to either be left behind or just ignored. And so again, using a movie company, we hire all the interpreters and their families on the movie, and they join the guilds, and they get vetted and make sure you have the right, whatever it is, in order to come into America. You're not, and movie companies do that way better than the government. Because when a movie company hires an actor, they got people that they're not only hiring the actor, but they're finding out what his talent is and where to put him, and so on, and their families. You always got to include the families, you see. And so I see how movies can improve our living conditions, because the movies now can be about how, say, Israel and Palestine could come to a fictitious ending, but it's so logical that they would copy it, because there's a lot of things that have been copied by society that they saw in movies, and so I've always maintained that you can use art to save the world, because the art for centuries have saved so many civilizations. For instance, when Christianity hit big time, what do they have? The biggest churches ever. These big churches, and the big churches, not only a place to praise God, but tourist attraction from all over the world would come to see these beautiful structures. They still do. The Gaudi Church in Italy, and the St. Peter's Square, and all those places. They're tourists. The Vatican in Rome, big tourist attraction. Art. It was all about art, and the pyramids. The pyramids were basically burial plots, but they were works of art, and they provided. And art always provides employment. You see. And not only employment, but you're creating. There's a saying that Emmett Fox said. He says, "Love promotes creativity, whereas hate promotes destructive. The destructive urge." And so when you deal with art, you're dealing with love. I've never heard of hate art. Have you?
No.
So that's my plan for the future, and whether or not, and it will be, we will carry it out, because it just makes, see, the way the world works is that you got to find a way to make it profitable. Let's see, and that's what the church found out. See, Jesus walking around giving everything away for free. They couldn't make any money off that, so they had to build the churches and everything else. And it doesn't matter, as long as you're praising God, it doesn't matter if it's in a church or in a field or wherever it is. Your mind is in the right place, and that's what organized religion. I can find a lot of problems with every organized religion in the world, except for one thing: they're all talking about God, and we don't care how you do it. That's all you have to do, is bring God into your life, into your psychic, in your mind. Yeah, you're going to have evil guys, that you're going to have murders, killing, because we live in a physical plane, and when you live in a physical plane, you have explosions. Chemicals interact with each other, and sometimes they blow up. Well, that's the same as people. See, in order to have experiences on the physical plane, we have to feel everything. We have to feel the pain. We have to feel the joy. We have to feel all that. So that's how we learn. That's how we evolve, just like communications, like when people say to me, "Did you ever think weed would be legal?" I said, "Man, I never thought that I would be talking to you through my phone and seeing you." That's recent in my life. It's recent. In my life, I remember when they put an electric wire up the side of my house, inside, not hidden, and across, and then they screwed in a light bulb in the top, and there's a switch, and you turn the switch, and you didn't have to use a Coleman lamp anymore. You got light. And I remember when we got the first radio, and you plug it in and you turn on and you could hear music. And now look at us. Look where we're at now. So we're evolving at such a beautiful space, time, like this pandemic, we learned that you don't need to go to school. You don't need to go to the office. You can do your work at home. Whoa, what an eye-opener that is. Especially a lot of companies, they said, what? They've been spending money, all these high rises and all that shit, and you could do everything with a computer at home. So we're Andrew Yang had it right. Andrew Yang says we have to arrange for every person in America to get money every month to live and to exist. And I love that. I love that. You know why? Because what do you do with money? You use it, you spend it. And when you spend it, someone else is getting that money, and then you're going to get more, and you're going to spend more. It's such a perfect solution. And then you get these people that say, well, then they won't. Well, right now I love it, because I got a lot of rich friends, and they're bitching because they don't have that cheap labor that they used to have. Now they said, I can't get anybody to work for me. I said, well, why don't you pay them a decent wage? Well, then I won't be able to be in business. Oh, no, you'll be in business. You'll be in business, but you won't be able to maybe steal so much from these poor immigrants and that. No, I love what's happening. It's an evolution. And we're evolving at such a nice pace, man. It's crazy.
I'm excited to see what the future holds. That's what I'll say for sure.
Mm-hmm.
I'm excited to see what you're doing with that, if that comes to fruition with your with you hiring homeless people and trying to basically house them and help them.
Yeah. Yeah. Hey, homeless is, they're you and I. That's all they are. But they're going through a different life, karmic life, you know, in their life. You know, that's like I was in the Salvation Army home and in prison. You know, and they're on the street. That's no different. It's an experience. It's an experience, you know. And that's the other thing I learned too, is that our camping equipment is really top notch, man. You know. And thanks to the mountain climbers in Everest and that, you know, because he invented all this way to live in the extreme cold in a little tent with a sleeping bag. And oh man, this is great. And now you got people, why should they pay rent in some shitty apartment, you know, that's not cared for? And when you can live on the street for nothing and be closer to wherever you want to be, and you got this beautiful tent that you don't have to worry about trying to find the next month's rent, you know. I mean, I understand them totally, man, because but for the grace of God, that's me.
Yeah,
Totally.
it's one of my favorite sayings.
Yeah, I've had my share of those adventures, and they're adventures, you know. I'm very proud of it, you know. And you know, the other thing that with this lockdown, when they shut down the bars, they eliminated a lot of drunkenness and a lot of drunk drivers, and a lot of people are saying, you know, I feel much better not drinking. You know, yeah. I think I like the way I feel, the way I think. You know, yeah, because we were for a while there, we were creating a zombie class of people. You know, they weren't thinking; they were just doing. You know, mindless.
Numbing themselves to life.
Yeah, I saw that, you know. And now, and you know, everybody said, oh, baby boomer, blah, blah, blah. No, there was no baby boom during this lockdown. It was the opposite. It was the opposite, you know, because what are you going to bring a baby into this, you know, in a homeless tent or whatever, you know? So there's a lot of things that this lockdown really brought into focus, you know, and we can attribute all that to the spirit, you know, to the spiritual side that are watching us, because we are the visible. We are the spirit world made visible. That's all, and that's what the physical world is. It's visible, and we're here just for a short period of time, and we're learning, and we're learning. And God, are we learning? I mean, you can't talk to anybody nowadays without them having an opinion. I like now. I've been watching the like I said, the Trump follies, you know, and they're showing it, you know, in black and white. And there's still people, Republicans, you know, where they're trying to deny it. And what they're doing is they're in denial of really of their own ignorance, you know, and they're going to get a lesson, because they gotta, you know, everybody's going to, you pay, one way or another, you pay for your trespasses. You know, that's the Lord's prayer. Give us a day, you know, forgive us our trespasses as we forgive those who trespass against us. You see. And so it's we live really in the most perfect dysfunctional world possible.
That's one way to put it. People were wanting to know if you've ever been too high, if you have any stories of you just being absolutely too faded.
So many times. So I can't even begin to tell you, man.
Oof.
Oh man, you talk about, have I ever been too high? Yeah. The Rick Simpson Oil one time, I especially when I got diagnosed with prostate cancer, I did a dollop of Rick Simpson Oil. And I got a little workshop in my basement. So I went down there and it hit me. and I couldn't get out of my chair. And I sat there all day, and I would have sat there all night too. But then I could hear people coming home, and I had to get up. And so I had to strategize how I could get out of this chair, because I was like part of the chair. And I don't know how I did it, but I finally made it upstairs and crawled into bed. And that's where I was for that night and the rest of the next day.
Oh my gosh.
That's how bad it was, or how good it was too, because eventually I started, coming down enough that I could appreciate things. I was I was just like unconscious. I wasn't, when I was sitting in the chair, I knew I had to get up, and I could see the doorway. It was in the dark. I sat there so long, it went dark, and I could see the doorway, and I said, how am I going to get out of this chair? It was pretty funny, but yeah, I've been there a couple of times. One time I had the flu, and I was in Colorado, and just the day or something after they legalized it, and so I had to drive home or back to Denver. We were staying at a friend's house, and I had a meet and greet lined up. Put photographs, and people would have to come over and take pictures with me. But I had the flu, and so the guy that owned the farm, he goes, well, here, take a gummy. And so I took a half a gummy, and I didn't feel anything. You know how it is. As experienced as I am, you take a half a gummy and you got another half in your head. Oh, what the hell? Well, have you seen that movie Breakfast at Bernie's?
Yes.
Where the guy's dead? Well, that was me. I rode home in the truck. I was like, just comatose. And then I got home, and people were there to see me, and I could hear them. They sat me in, they kind of led me and sat me down on the couch, and people would come beside me and take pictures. And I'm sitting there.
Are they just posting up to your slumped body, or what?
Yeah, that's what I was just going to lean up toward him. Yeah, I've had my fair share of the whoops, too much. Yeah. Did acid one time. We were doing improv, and we wanted to feel what it was like doing a show on acid. That was a trip, man. That was it, because the laughter would come. It would stop us from what we were doing, and we'd kind of look around, and then we'd continue on with the bit. That was one thing about Cheech that I've always admired. No matter what went down, he never broke character, ever. And a lot of our most famous bits were because he would not break character. Like Dave's Not Here, that was because Cheech would not break character. Yeah. Yeah, figure out, as soon as Cheech and I started doing, Pedro and Man, then the weed was part of our daily routine, especially when we do a show. And we never really got stoned. One time it's not too stoned, but we got stoned on cocaine in New York. Because we're with Belushi and all those guys, and hey, cocaine, we're snorting away. In fact, we used to snort with the guy that ended up being part of the cartel. The way he did it, he was in school at university, and he'd come, and when he'd go home to Bogota for a holiday, and they'd say, all his friends would say, hey, well, he would get back there, and everybody in New York would say, hey, bring us some Coke, when you come back. And so he started bringing just a little bit, and then pretty soon he's bringing suitcases full. And at the time, you could put him on the airplane, and he'd get him off the luggage, and big suitcase full of cocaine. Well, we snorted up with him one time, and we had to work at the bitter end. And the bitter end, right now, is still open. It's got a cartoon of Cheech and Chong on the panel, one of the panels inside the club. But Cheech and I went on stage, and we were so coked out that we did the worst show we've ever done in the history of our shows.
Oh no!
And New York is not a good place. See, we'd been working in LA, and we'd been doing a lot of Chicano. You know, LA is full of Chicanos. New York, no Chicanos. Puerto Ricans, but they're New York Puerto Ricans, you know? And so we never had that Chicano cushion to fall on, you know? And so pretty soon this Chicano bit didn't work and that Chicano bit didn't work. And if the bits don't work, then you can't really bring the crescendo. You can't really get there. And Cheech and I were fighting before we got off the stage, man. I told you about that, Cole. You should be.
Oh, no.
And we never did coke again. That was it, because it just ruined our show. But it's New York. No one gives a shit about New York. New York's a place where they got a little light booth, you know, and the guys in there. And this guy, he got too much to drink and he's eating pizza and he had nowhere to, he couldn't make it to the bathroom. So he opened up the light booth and barfed in the light booth all over the light guy. Oh yeah, that was crazy times. Yeah, a few times. Cheech got so stoned one time, and he was dating Joni Mitchell, and he had a chunk of acid, nowhere to smoke it, so he ate it. He got so stoned, man, he forgot to order his food when we were at the restaurant. And Cheech.
So I do a lot of like activist work in my state here, and we're just wondering what you think the average stoner could do to help promote the legalization effort.
I guess educate your family members. You know, that's a tough one because usually they ignore you. But if you could educate them, you know, and you can do it kind of undercover, you know, don't let them know you're educating them, you know. But when you find these articles like Sandra Gupta, you know, that's one that I always go to, is when the mother of an epileptic child was having fits every 5 minutes or something. And then they got the Charlotte's Web. I don't know if it's THC or CBD, but anyway, they injected her with the Charlotte's Web, and the little baby hugged its mother for the first time in its life. Wow. I mean, stories like that. If you can find a way to put those stories in front of them and the people that need education, you know, that's how you do it. You know, you can't do it, especially you can't do it by example, you know, because nothing worse than a stoner trying to explain why someone else should get high. There's nothing worse.
You're right with that, yeah.
I remember a bit Cheech and I did one time about trying to explain it. And my character just had no patience. Just try the fucking thing. You shut the fuck up. No, you can't do that. Other than that, man, you know, it's hard to change people. You know, they got to change themselves. You know? And so the best way is always by example. You know, lead by example. I tell the kids, you know, in university, all kids, what I tell them, like, get good marks. Blow your parents' mind. Get good marks. And then if they find the bag of weed in your room, they're going to say, they're not going to say anything to you because you're getting those good marks. Now, if you get failed marks and they find a bag of weed, well, right away, it's 2 and 2 makes you've been smoking too much. But yeah, I tell everybody, you know, accomplish what your aim is, you know. I mean, that's what all rap is, pot fueled, you know, incredibly. And look where rap is now. It's taken over all music, you know. the money. What is Kanye West is the richest black man in America? And he didn't get it just with the Kardashians. That was with his records. That was his records, you know. So, yeah, you just got to do positive things, you know, and then they can't argue with you, you know. Yeah, that's what I'd say.
What do you think the future of smoking looks like? We got edibles, we got lotions, we got flowers, we got THC pills and concentrates. Do you think there's anything new coming up?
I'm holding the future right here. These are breath strips. See?
Oh, wow.
See this breath strip here?
How much
This
is it?
Well, it's my own private one. So this has 20 milligrams of THC. Wow. Yeah, they're breath strips. And I give them to all my friends. We had a New Year's Eve party and I gave them out. And it was the quietest party anybody's ever been to. Everybody got, and we go, and then one girl got a little paranoid, you know, she had to go to the bathroom. And then she came back and she goes, I kept thinking these horrible thoughts. And I thought, oh my God, did I say them out loud? It was a comedic thing. These breath strips, we got one of our investors in our pot shops, he's very wealthy. And this is why he's investing, because of these breath strips. And so because he's investing millions, we got a year supply, you know, we supply him with the breath strips all the time. Yeah, that's the future. That's it. Well, that's a present too, you know, present too. My dog, when it light up, he leaves the room.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Yeah. As soon as I light up, he go, whoop, and he's out the door. Because he doesn't like the high, I guess.
What do you think the future of the stoner culture looks like?
Well, it's sliding into middle age and old age. You know, I've got more old people asking me for the stuff, you know, like I got my CBD upper and this is my downer. Yeah, they use that religiously. I think stoners like me, I know my future is the past. Like I have Miles Davis days now, where I just play Miles Davis and nothing else. And because that's what I started off with back in the day. And now I'm at the end, and that's exactly what I'm going back to. But the future is like anything, you know. You got young people, and they're inventive, and they'll lead the way. There's no fear about it. I think again, I think it's the future really is legalization all over the world, including China and, you know, those Asian countries that they had the worst penalties, like Japan. You know, you can't have any pot in Japan, and China is almost like a death sentence in that. But eventually, like everything American, it just spreads. You know, no matter where you go, for a while there, used to see a Michael Jackson T-shirt on every kid in the world now. So eventually you're going to, they can't, because these are countries where cannabis started, you know. I mean, and they've always had a culture. They've never stopped, but it's always underground, you know, and it's always indigenous people, you know. Those water pipes in China, you know, it wasn't just for tobacco. You know, they were all, but they couldn't be blatant about it because you get killed. I think the future, and it always has been, you know, it's the first thing people, you know, I got friends of these real rich friends. They were on this yacht in St. Bart's, and they're in the hot tub. And so they lit up a nice fat stinky joint And the next day, the captain or the owner of the yacht called him and said, we got reports that you were smoking marijuana in the hot tub. And the guy goes, yeah. He says, well, you risked me losing my boat. Come on. St. Bart's, Americans, who's going to take their boat? And Reagan, that was Reagan era, And so my friend says, so do you want us to get off the boat? And the guy goes, yes. And so then, well, okay. So they got off the boat, found another billionaire and richer than this guy. And now they're meeting with him. They're going to go somewhere else. So everything works out for the good, And it's a good karma. That's what weed really has, some good karma. So the future really is very bright and rosy, because we're eventually, it was pot that stopped the Vietnam War, all the protesters and the pot, and it was that was dead. And then it got to the point in the Vietnam War where both sides were fighting each other. You could smell weed on both sides.
Really?
The Viet Cong and the Americans. Yeah. Everybody was, and over there, everybody was smoking weed. And the thing is, we lost that war because we had no business being there. That's a jungle. You don't go in the jungle unless you know exactly, unless you got a guide. So many Americans, oh man, they got messed up over there, But it was the weed that stopped it, because of the protest and the army, and people are saying, hey, let's do this, let's take this hill, and they smoke. Why? Why kill yourself for what? Because you take it in the daytime and then they take it back at night. And, you're not going to beat these guys. And we finally realized that. And look what happened. America lost so badly. It was so embarrassing, pushing helicopters into the ocean to make room, because they didn't need the helicopters anymore. They needed room for the refugees and people. You go over to Vietnam now, and it's a beautiful place, but the people are under the communist rule. You don't have the freedoms that we have here, but there's no difference. The war never does help the people. All it does is help the arms dealers, and it doesn't help them either, because you're dealing with bad karmic activity. And so I've never heard anything really good happening to any of those people, that were involved in it, including Dick Cheney, who had Halliburton in that. So, and that was the Iraqi war. That all wars are, and what's solvent? The future is electric cars. That's the future, because all the wars that were fought were over oil. Maybe not the Vietnam War, that was over ego, but the Iraqi, the desert wars are all about oil. And look what happened. Electric cars come in, we don't need the oil. And that's why when the refineries got hacked, so-called hacked, I'm not sure if they did, but if they did, okay. They got hacked, and there's an oil supply. So what happens? Electric cars. Ford's got an electric car plant. And that's the beginning. Pretty soon, we won't need oil. And that's the future. We won't need oil. Everything we need. We got wind power. We got electric power, solar power. That's all we need. Solar and wind. Think about that. Solar and wind. And guess who was way ahead of us back in the day? The Dutch. Dutch had windmills way back then.
It's a good point.
Yeah.
So what's the future of the Tommy Chong brand look like then?
So bright. Oh my God. Well, we're going to have our own dispensaries. And then I'm going to make sure that we have a place in the dispensaries to listen to poetry and jazz. And the weed, everything, it's just going to be so gentle. That's the word I like. Very gentle, because there's no drama with this. Our biggest thing now, we deliver, and that's a great thing. We deliver, and then we're going to get it once we get it legal federally, then the roof will be blowing off the top. Mexico is going to go legal. Once Mexico goes legal, Canada is going to have to relax. Everybody's going to have to relax because of the trade agreement they have. And then once they do that, the prices will fall to sensible levels, and everybody it'll provide everything we need. It'll provide taxes for the counties, for the schools, and the infrastructure. It will promote learning in our schools, and then we'll get to the point where we'll get some of these rich guys to give up more scholarships, because I believe the schools need money, but I don't believe that they should charge the students for it. You should be able to go to school based on your, well, you do now, based on your ability. But even if you don't have the ability, I don't think schools should be. But especially once we get that, livable amount to everybody in the world, then the world is solved. Everything's solved. The thing we're going to have is how to deal with a country without war, and we're doing that pretty good. Oh, by the way, I got an idea for the gun control in America. In the Constitution, it says we are allowed to have a well-regulated militia. No one's ever looked at that. So I wanted to do a well-regulated militia in every major city and town in America. And their purpose is to become like the mob in Step Up Dance Revolution. Like, it'll be a group of people. Yeah, they will have arms and everything, but their main activity will be marching and dancing. And then whenever there was an outbreak of anything, we do a mob dance, and we solve it with music and dance. And then, because we have people with guns, we will have, there will be shooting contests, all contests, regulated contests. And so marksmanship, guys can shoot the eye out of a target 500 yards away. Okay, the guy's going to have medals and trophies, and his picture's going to be in the paper. He's the #1 guy. And then if people, that abuse, they're going to we'll have a network in the militia of monitors that monitor people. And so when you find someone that has a problem, mental, physical, whatever, with a weapon, the authorities are alerted. And then if nothing else, you take away the firearms from the person, and you don't lock them up. We have armories. Every city needs an armory. That's what they had back in the war, in the Civil War and the Second World War, all that. Every city had an armory where you kept the weapons and the ammunition under lock and key. And you never got it. When I was in Army Cadets, I was a marksman. I was a sharpshooter. But when we went to the range, the sergeant would hand us our bullet. When we got laying in the prone position, we got our bullet, put it in the gun, shoot it, boom. And then at the end of the day, you picked up your shell casings and you handed them in. And if you were missing anything, you didn't leave until you found that shell casing or the bullet or whatever. And so we just we have the right to bear arms, but we also have the right to be organized, you see. And that's that's what a militia does. But what I did in Army Cadets was march. I love marching. You get marching behind a bagpipes and drums, man, you feel you're ready to go to war. You know, you just, that's why I could made it in the dance, the dance contest, that I was in, So I was Dancing with the Stars. It was because of my army training. I learned how to march. I learned how to make a left turn, a right wheel, right, left wheel. And I learned how to stop on command. I learned how to turn. And it's all dance moves. And so people, young people, old people, whatever, you love to march, you love to carry guns, yeah, join that. But you're not going to hurt anybody because you're going to be regulated. And there's going to be gun instructors, You're not going to be able to grab a machine gun and go up in the field and just pop it away at anything. I never learned, I never did. I fired a Sten gun, a semi-automatic rifle, but I never fired a little what do you call a Sten gun, like a little Tommy gun or automatic weapon. Why? Because they're only good for like scattering bullets all over the place. You can't really aim. You don't know where it's going to go. And it was for close combat during the Second World War that they needed it, But we don't have that in civilian life. You don't need an AKA-47. Have AKA-47 contest, regulate it. Hand them the bullet or the bullets, have the target, everything's safe. Yeah. Every once in a while, maybe a guy will go nuts or something, blow other people away. But hey, that's the risk that they're taking. You don't have to worry about some nut going into a school or a theater or someplace, And it's in the Constitution, a well-regulated militia. And so that's the future.
You know Elon Musk, right?
I know of him. I haven't met him yet, but yeah, I do. I really appreciate him. I drive a Tesla. Yeah.
How is it? Do you enjoy it?
Oh, incredible.
So
it's a little bit too wide for me. I keep fucking up the wheels on you.
Oh, no.
I run over the odd curb. It's wide, but I know I love the car. I love it, and I've run out of power. Being stupid. I had to get a tow truck take me to the nearest charging station, but that's only happened once, and it's a typical stoner move.
Oh gosh. Have you looked into what he's doing with the brain chip, Neuralink?
What?
Have you looked into what he's doing with that brain chip, the Neuralink?
Oh, I heard about it. Yeah.
What do you think about that? Do you think you'd ever get one?
Yeah, absolutely. Shit, yeah. That's AI, artificial intelligence. Yes. Our problems don't come with knowledge, comes with ignorance.
Yeah.
That's all. Yeah. The more you learn. Are you kidding? Yes. Yeah. Sign me up. Shit. Yeah. I'll in a heartbeat, man. Well, what about, what? You're going to eliminate my paranoia? I got to keep that,
Oh, you have such a good mindset about it. I appreciate that.
Mm-hmm.
Do you think if you had the option to be immortal then through technology, would you ever do that?
I don't think we'll ever come to that point. But no, that would never happen because it's a physical world. Nothing lasts forever. And if you think it does, think again. Yeah. All this has been done before. I mean, we're just rediscovering it. Think about it. This is eternity we're in. Eternity means there was no beginning, no end. All we're in is a vicious cycle. And we're in like a spiral. You see. And so, yeah, this is part of it. The chip in the mind. Yeah, that's all part of it. Definitely part of it. But you never would live immortal because there's no need to. You see, because we have a spirit world. That's why and I hate to say it, but it's true. You know, when God or Jesus were talking about lifting your burden, he's talking about dying. You know, you'll never have any burden too hard to lift, because when you reach that point, you pass into the spirit world. This body goes back to dust, but the spirit now goes into another body, another new body. So I don't think that the immortal thing will ever happen. No, in fact, I know it won't, because we are immortal already. So what it's like saying, I'm going to keep that Tesla forever. You know, I don't care what they come up with new. I'm going to keep my Tesla. Well, I'm that kind of guy, man. When I started buying cars, I never started buying new cars till I made it with Cheech and Chong, and I'd buy something, I'd keep it, and then it would be sitting in the garage forever. And then I started giving away my old cars to my people that work for me, because I don't want to give. I got the first Prius, and I tricked it out. I had it like a lowrider, I had it so with the bouncy thing, and you could lower it to the
with hydraulics.
Yeah, I put it on hydraulics.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, it's a Tesla. Oh, look. Oh, it was a Prius. It was hot. It was hot, but it rode terribly, because after you have to take up the shocks to do that, and so it ride like a golf, like a shopping cart. And so I had to take it back to Toyota, and they had to put new shocks in. And my son still has the car. It's in Boulder right now. But yeah, I still got the first Tesla. I mean, the first Prius. Yeah. Oh man, I tried to make my own electric car before, 20 years ago, and then the Prius came out. I got the first Prius in LA. Oh, I'm Mr. First when it comes to electric cars. And then as soon as I could get a Tesla, I got a Tesla. And then I sold my first Tesla, and now I'm leasing it. See, that's the future, where you lease them. And when the lease is up, you get a new one. And that's the way it's going to be. Yeah.
Well, I live in Minnesota. I'm waiting for the battery technology to advance, because we have those beautiful days where in the winter it's negative 50 degrees, and I don't know if a Tesla would survive that yet.
Oh yeah, bud. Oh yeah, it'll survive all that. Yeah. Oh yeah. Oh sure. Yeah. Oh yeah. That's the best thing, man. Anyway, it would be a good reason for you to move out of there.
Oh God, I would love to move. That's
that 50 degree. Then you want to come to LA or somewhere where a Tesla makes sense. Yeah. No, Minnesota, nothing makes sense at 15 degrees below zero. I know. I lived through 20 winters in Calgary. I've been there, and this is first few probably 10 years was in a off the grid house. So no, I've been there, done that. No, no, you can't go wrong with electric cars. Love them. There's so much. It's a computer. Oh man, I got music. I got everything I need in there. And I'm not really the technology guy, but I'm trying my best. Because you got to keep up. You got to try. Can you imagine in my lifetime thinking about having an electric car? No, it just didn't enter anybody's mind.
Yeah, I tried to talk to my grandparents about this stuff, and yeah, they feel the same way. They could never have predicted any of this in their wildest dreams.
Any of it. Nope.
Do you want to tell me the story about how you started smoking weed?
How did I start smoking weed? I was 17. I was in a R&B band, first one in Calgary. I had a friend in a jazz club in Calgary. The jazz club was called the Foggy Manor. It was kind of like a bottle club because you couldn't. They had no liquor license, and they never really supported any kind of booze. It was actually a pot club, the first one of the pot, because he was in L.A. and he came back with a Lenny Bruce comedy record and a couple of joints, and he gave me the record and a joint. It was very serendipity, like it was meant to be, because as soon as and then we smoked his joint, I heard music for the first time. I was listening to a song called they were playing it in the club. It's a Lonely Woman by Ornette Coleman. And wow, I'd never heard music like that before or after, since with the joint. And I took the joint home, and I was living with my parents, and I had a little basement cot in the basement, and I listened to that record, and I'd just take a couple of tokes and put it up. And yeah, then shortly after I quit school and decided that I was going to make a living being a blues player, somehow. And I did it. Yeah, for many years. But it was 17, and then I was still in school. And then as soon as I realized that, I was just faking it, school had no interest for me. And but the street did. And I ended up on the street in Vancouver. And that's where I got my early education.
On the streets of Vancouver?
Yep. On the streets of Vancouver, playing blues clubs and nightclubs and wherever I could get a gig, We had a band, and the band was pretty popular, and then we ran out of gigs, and then the band broke up, and I started playing in for other bands, and then ended up my mom and dad and my Calgary girlfriend came and picked me up and took me home, because my mom and dad missed me. It was the first time I was away from home, and I was the party guy. I was the exciting guy, and they wanted him home, and so then I went back to Calgary for a year, and then we got a gig. We got a call to reform the band. Let's go. We got a gig, and so we drove. Me and the piano player Bernie, we drove all the way to Calgary from Vancouver in my old Chevy, which died by the time we got there. We broke the front thing, the steering thing. It broke, and we're in the mountains, in the middle of the mountains. So I drilled a couple of holes, and I put some kind of a brace to hold it together, and we made the rest of the trip that way.
That's crazy.
And yeah, it was crazy. But that was my street education, and I haven't really gotten off the street since. Been there ever since.
That's interesting. Where'd you stay at night then? Like, where do you stay at night then? If you were living on the streets, you just walk around all night?
On the streets? Oh, no. I found there's a hotel there. This is a junkie hotel now. You can't get in there. It's called the Hazelwood Hotel. It cost $25. Oh, was it a week? $25 a month, a week. Well, probably $25 a month, I think it was. Could have been a week. But anyway, you had your own room, bath, you had your own toilet, and that's it. And a view to the street. It was a great hotel. I have dreams about it all the time. And I finally contacted the old owner, or he contacted me, because I talked about it a few times, and it's still there. But I tried to get in it, with a video camera, and it's a junkie haven or something. And the junkies wouldn't let me even get to I couldn't get past, see the sign-in desk is on the third floor. And
Oh.
so you had to get on an elevator and go up, and I couldn't get to the elevator and up. And there's too many, it's too dangerous, you know, with the junkies and that. And you're not a junkie. Oh man, it's kind of scary. But yeah, I stayed in that hotel for off and on, you know. We stayed at different places, you know, the drummers. I stayed at his, slept there one night, a couple of nights, and then Tommy, the singer, he had a girl. Oh no, his sister. Oh, we stayed at his sister's place, Callie's place. We stayed there for a couple of weeks, and then I found out Hazelwood Hotel, and then I stayed in the hotel, the little hotel. It was great, man. Oh man, this hooker used to walk the streets, and she would kind of wait for me because I'd walk her to her street corner, you know, and I'd have my guitar, and we had a little friendship thing going there. And when her pimp would beat her so bad, she would come into my room and crawl under the bed, and he would come in. I wouldn't. My door wasn't locked, so he'd just come in, drag her out.
Oh my God.
Yeah, and then he finally died. They were in a horrendous car accident, and he was in a convertible, and they hit something, and he just flew out of the convertible and died. Oh yeah, it was tough there. Hookers and almost every girl I met was on some kind of heroin, downers. You know, they worked waitresses or hookers. You know.
Wow.
Yeah. It was a tough. It was a street. I wanted the street, man. I got the street.
Wow. Geez, with your whole life in mind, then I must ask, do you have any regrets in life?
None.
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 Wow.
Let's see. Do I have a regret? I think there was. No, not really.
You're really happy with how everything turned out?
Well, the only regret I've had was I once bought a house, a 3-story house, beautiful, with fireplace, den, used to belong to a doctor. The reason I bought it was that I was trying to work as I was trying to get a job. You know, I was married and I wasn't making any money with the music, and so I tried to get a job. And I hooked up with a baker, and I was trying to get his bakery going, and I would drive around and give away free bread. And I came across this house with a for sale sign. It says for sale by owner, $500 down. And so I thought, whoa. So I went and checked it out. It was beautiful. And so I borrowed $500. I was working, playing music at night, but not steady, not enough, you know, to make any money. But I couldn't resist the house. And so I had just gotten married. So I had my wife and my daughter from another marriage, another encounter. And then my mom and dad, they came, and then a couple of friends of mine. We all stayed in this 3-story house. But the heating bill, the reason I was happy in the summertime, it was great. And I had a lawyer friend drop the papers and everything. And then the heating bill came in the wintertime. Holy shit, $3,000, some ridiculous price, you know, because it was oil, the furnace, and it had to heat all the floors. That's why they sold it. The heating bill was humongous. And so everybody had to find their other place. My mom and dad found an apartment downtown, just perfect for them. And my wife and I found a house just perfect for us, you know. No ridiculous, because my wife was working, but I wasn't working. And that was my regret of that house. I loved it, but I'm not a house owner. I try to be the handy guy, and I was horrible at it. You know, I'm a musician. You know, I can live in a hovel and not feel anything. As long as I got my guitar and my amp and some weed, I'm good. Okay, I'm going to have to call a halt.
You're gonna have to call it.
Yeah.
Sounds good to me.
Okay.
It's enjoyable talking to you, man.
Well, we covered a lot of territory, man. We did.
Oh yeah.
And where are you calling from?
I'm from Minnesota.
Is that the background there?
Oh yeah, this is Minneapolis. I took this photo a few years ago.
Oh, Minneapolis. I love that town. St. Paul and Minneapolis. Is that the ones, the Twin Cities?
Yeah, yep.
Yeah. We worked. I love you got an antique store in Minneapolis that I I love thrift shops, antique stores, because I love buying old shit, because I'm an old shit. Okay, man. We'll see you next time, huh?
Yeah, have a good one, man. Thanks again.
You too. And say hi to everybody for me, and we'll do it again.
Yeah, for sure. See you, dude.
Okay.